Man, I'm really bummed. I've had this snake for over 2 weeks, and I don't think it likes me. I mean, what the heck? I'm a nice guy. I help old people. I don't lie to children. Welcome to the Green Room. I'm Bob Bledsoe. In this video, we are going to fix this problem and get these grumpy snakes to like you. I'm kidding, actually. But I will give you some techniques to help your snakes become more comfortable with you. Some of the information that I'm going to go over has been covered in previous videos, but I think it's good to go over important information a few times, and also not everybody watches my previous videos. So here we go with some covered information and some new information. Echo, what are you doing? Why don't you go do your own thing? So I have some wonderfully well-socialized snakes here in the green room, but I wouldn't say that any of them like me. And I also wouldn't say that they dislike me either. Snakes most species of snakes, and the ones we're talking about here, don't seek out companionship. Even though it looks like Echo is seeking out companionship, she's not. Echo, stop it. I'm not feeding right now, babe. Go, go, go. Will you please, look, I have a different snake up here. Will you please go? I know, you're really interested. You're really interested in what I'm doing, but she was looking for food. But pythons don't seek out companionship from other snakes, and especially from the big monkey in the room who just feeds them and steals their poop. So there really isn't any behavior that a snake is going to do that tells me that they like me or that they dislike me. But there's definitely behavior that they do that tells me that they're tolerant of me or trusting of me, and also definite behavior that tells me that they are fearful or untrusting of me. And I think tolerant and trusting is about as close as we're going to get to like. As much as I'd love to be able to say, my snakes all really like me, it's important to look at their behavior and try to figure things out from there. So if I open a snake's cage, many of my snakes will crawl right out onto my hand. A good indicator that they like me, or maybe even love me. But if given the choice and I just stay still, they'll crawl onto my hand and then off somewhere else, which tells me that I'm a trusting step stool for them. And that's always what happens. They're never going to, if I just stay still like a statue, Ron is going to eventually leave. He's headed out right now. So that's why when we hold our snakes, we go hand over hand, right? Because they're trying to leave. He's not trying to flee. He's not trying to run away. He just wants to explore, and he has no desire really to hang out with me. You know, he's okay with it, but it's not, I think it's neutral for him. I don't think it's like or dislike. I think he's fine with it, but if given the option to explore, he'll go explore. This is a long explanation. Echo, was that explanation too long? Did it get boring? I get messages often from people who just got their snake and they're surprised to learn that it curls up and hisses at them. Some people message me and say that their snake was fine for the first few weeks, but now it's starting to curl up and hiss at them. What did they do wrong? In both cases, I let people know that their snake is acting like a snake. This is the default behavior for a snake that's not socialized yet. You know, sometimes there are snakes that hatch out and it seems like they're socialized from the beginning. That especially happens with ball pythons. It's not the normal. I think it's more normal for a snake to hatch out and be defensive, but I've had a number of hatchlings that just never need actual socialization. They're just fine with whatever. But for the most part, you're going to get snakes that need some sort of socialization. I think it's really important to remember that snakes are not used to giant monsters waiting on them. It's really scary, and it's actually good reason for them to display their natural snake behavior. We are definitely giant monsters to them. It gives them a really good reason to act like a snake. Hey, what are you doing? Speaking of acting like a snake. You trying to reach over here? You know what would be better, I think, for you? Is if you just curled up right here. I think if you stay here instead of roaming the house, that would be better for me. Imagine a monster the size of a giant water tower crashes into your place, and you're like, oh my god, don't eat me. And he's like, I'm not going to eat you. I'm just your janitorial service, cleaning up a little bit. Yeah, right. But then he crashes in again, and you're like, oh my god, don't eat me. And he's like, I'm not going to eat you. I'm bringing you food. Here's a lovely plate of ravioli and some steamed vegetables, a nice fresh dinner roll. You're like, thank you. Why are you trying to fatten me up? I could go on and on with this analogy. I think it would make a really good movie or at least a miniseries on the Hallmark Channel. But you get the idea, right? This is basically what the snake feels like. And it's going to take a while to get them used to this snake to monster relationship. Look at Echo right there. She's really hoping for food. What if I put my arm? No way, lady. That's me. You got that? Oh, good girl. That's me. Do not strike. Sometimes I test it. It's not the smartest idea in the world, but now she'll strike. If I do it again, she'll strike. All right, we're leaving Echo alone. Hi folks, Future Bob here with a brand new fancy hat from the future. As I'm editing this video, I realize that I need to address something here, and that is, for those of you who are new to the channel or new to Echo, my super dwarf reticulated python, this does become a bit of a theme in this video, spoiler alert, and her behavior of being in food mode and looking for food is not, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about in this video. This has nothing to do with socialization. She is, in fact, one of my most socialized snakes in the green room, but when she's in food mode, the rest of her brain is shut off, so anything with a heat signature for her could potentially be food. Again, this has nothing to do with the topic of the video, but it is, it's going to be a theme throughout this video. I'm keeping it in because it's funny and kind of interesting. But a snake in food mode has nothing to do with whether they're well socialized or not well socialized. So just two separate things. We just kind of have Echo in the background throughout this whole video, just being herself, which is a snake in food mode. So here are some ways to help your snake to become cool with the relationship. Now remember, we're dealing with an animal who hatches out of an egg or is born knowing that everything in the world wants to attack and eat them. It's just built into their DNA. They know that this is the case because in the wild, it's true. And so they better be good at being defensive and they better be good at hiding. That's the nature of a snake. That's where we're starting out. Hey, why is this clicking? So a big part of getting a snake to trust you is getting them to trust the world around them. To understand that just because they come across a new situation, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's dangerous and that they're going to be attacked. It's really important. So, just like most things in life, it's not about you. And that's an important thing to know because most people just go, oh, I'm going to hold my snake for an hour every single day and they'll get used to me. And that's not the way to do it. So I want to give my snake a good mix of different experiences with different objects, different environments, plenty of time with me also, that should be in the mix as well, and then eventually with other people. And that way, every time the snake logs a new experience where they came up against something that was new, they were a little bit nervous, they weren't sure what it was, but then they inspected it and they realized that it wasn't dangerous. They didn't get attacked by a predator. Every time that happens, they just stack those experiences up in their brain, and eventually they become pretty chill with new experiences, new people, new things, and especially you, the person that they see all the time. So they end up being a snake like Captain Feral here, who can pretty much trust anything. He's a very trusting snake. And I still give him new experiences because we want to keep that going their whole life. So with this new clutch of babies that just hatched out a couple weeks ago, the most we're doing pretty much is just getting them used to having their tub opened. So I open their tub, I'll pull it over here so you can see, and just get them used to that. They're only 2 weeks old, so everything in this world is new. I have a bare bones tub for them, which they're getting used to. That's new for them. I don't know if you can see this little guy curled up, but oh, you're going to see it through. There you go. He's just right there. I'm going to put him back. But so they just get used to that movement of their tub being open, right? And eventually they'll gain a little confidence and they'll start poking their head out, wanting to explore around. And when they do that, I'll put my hand under the, if their head is right here, my finger is their head, I'll put my hand under, not close to them, but a little bit farther away so that they can then come down and tongue flick on it. And that's it. Then I'll close the tub. So they're just getting used to that smell. Eventually, I'll start adding enrichment items to their tub. Toilet paper roll, little fake plants, just anything in there that's safe for them where they can look at it and go, oh my God, what the heck is even that? And they're a little bit nervous, right? Causes a little bit of stress, but then they slowly go up and inspect it and they realize that it's okay. And they're like, all right, okay, cool. And then they can interact with it. They can crawl through the paper towel, they can knock over the plant, whatever they want. And then a week later, there'll be something new in there for them to explore. Okay, lady, can I pull you out of food mode? Ah, see? I knew it. Can we just pull you out of food mode so I can stand here for a minute? Just relax. Go do something else. Okay, we're going to continue talking about this as we scroll the Horde of Keepers, which is a secret society. Don't even worry about it. If you're trying to investigate it, though, you might start with patreon.com/greenroompythons, but don't even worry about it. These are the members, though. Okay, so eventually with these babies, what I might do is set up a playpen and then throw a bunch of stuff that's safe for snakes in there for them to cruise around together and explore. So this is a big thing for them because they're coming across a number of things, plus each other. Again, they haven't been with each other since they shed out for the first time. And it gives them a chance to feel a little bit of stress, but then realize that nothing bad is happening. I'm also going to put hides in there whenever I do this with a clutch of snakes. I'll put a bunch of hides in there because if the stress gets a little bit much for them, they can crawl into a hide. But usually what I find is they go into hides for a little bit, and then they come out and start exploring. They can do their advance and retreat behavior. And so that just allows them to experience something new that was a little bit scary, but then they get to go back to the safety of their tub, and this is really helpful in socialization. Also, we have these channel sponsors that have discount codes for you. Black Box Cages has enclosures for your snakes, Lane Labs has frozen food for your snakes, and the Royals Project has snakes that will use the other products that are for snakes. I just pulled Handsome Dan out. There are some enrichment items for a few of my snakes that I never change. I just clean when their enclosures get cleaned and they get them again. And with Handsome Dan, it's this purple ball. He really seems to, it's kind of a safety thing for him. So if I get him out of his cage, he's often wrapped around it. So he gets to keep this. Anyway, along the same lines of giving snakes different experiences is taking them outside. So I have a clip here where I took my black-headed python, Banjo, outside to do some exploring. This is a totally different environment as well as something new for them to look at, so it could potentially cause a bit of stress. Banjo's a pretty confident snake though, and so he just checks everything out. When he got near me, I offered him my hand for him to crawl on if he wanted to, and he did not want to. And then he did want to. So I just spend some time with him just in this one spot. I definitely want to give the snake some time to explore whatever the new thing is. I don't want to just bring them around and show them thing after thing after thing, because it takes them a while to process. They're going to really explore usually the whole thing. They're going to go all the way around it and up and down and look all over the place. And that's fine for a session. You just let them do that. They realize that whatever it is that they just came across is safe, or the environment that they were just put in is safe. And then they go back into their cage. We do that for 10 or 15 minutes. That's all. And by the way, the playpen with all the different things in it, I consider that a different environment for the snake. So it's kind of a bigger thing than just putting one thing in their cage, obviously, because they are going to come across a few things, but they're going to have that experience of being in that new environment with all that new stuff and realize that they weren't hurt by it. Same thing with taking a snake outside. It's the same sort of situation for them. So this is all about patience and letting your snake do whatever behavior they need to do to explore the thing. All this extra stuff builds confidence, and it helps them to understand that the giant monster that takes care of them is also safe. Right, Handsome Dan? Yeah, you're not scared, right? You didn't like my mustache? So if your snake's only experience is their cage and in your hands, then everything that they come across that you bring them to is going to be scary. You know, you sit down on your couch and there's a couch cushion there. Oh my gosh, that's scary. You walk them outside over the big open sky and the new temperature or whatever. That's really scary. You take them into your bedroom where there's a clothes hamper that you can't smell, but they're like, oh my God, what is that? And when is it going to attack me? This is why it's really important to give them small, controlled experiences and ramp it up as, you know, as they get more confident. And remember that if a couch cushion is a new thing that their brain has to deal with, then a playpen full of stuff or walking them outside to show them one little area outside is a much bigger situation for their brain to deal with. And so that would mean that taking your snake to a big festival with all kinds of sounds and sights and people walking around and crazy stuff going on, that's sensory overload for them. It's often too warm for them anyway, but everything is just too much. And I always hear these snake keepers say, oh, my snake loves it, which makes me wonder what behavior they're displaying that tells you that your snake loves being paraded around a festival. I think it's just that when people bring their snakes out, their snake ends up just hanging out around their neck. They're not striking at people. They're not tensing up a bunch. And so they think that the snake is really happy being there. Maybe that's love. I don't know. But I do know that snakes will just shut down when sensory overload happens. So especially if they get too warm, they just go, ugh, and they stop moving. But also if they're super stressed and there's just too much going on and they can't escape the heat and they can't escape everything that's going on around them, they'll just kind of shut down. And that's a really good reason why these snakes seem to be so chill during these big public events. So remember that snakes, especially ball pythons and boas as well, like to be in a small dark hide sleeping during the day, hidden away from everything. They don't want to see a bunch of stuff. And so these big festivals that people bring their snakes to are the opposite of that. That amount of stress is too much for the snake. So again, what we want is small controlled interactions where they can come up against a little bit of stress, explore it a little bit, overcome it, and then they get to go back to the safety of their own cage. That's what builds confidence, not forcing them to be with you for an hour at a time, or especially forcing them to be out at a big festival or some public event for hours at a time where they can't escape. That's going to do much more damage to your snake than good. I'm going to put Handsome Dan back in his cage right here below, which you can't really see. But all I'm going to do in this situation is put his ball back in the cage, because regardless of what I do, he's going to just stay in that ball. And so that's how I do it with him. But for most snakes, if I'm just holding them in my hand, as you may know, I like to have them choose to go into their own cage. So I just show them their cage and let them go in on their own. It's jolting for them to be out in one environment and then all of a sudden plopped back into their home. It's nice for them to discover that, oh, there's my home and I'm allowed to go in there. A lot of times people will show their snake their home, or like put, the snakes in their hand, they put it in their cage, and then the snake comes right back out. That's because the snake doesn't realize yet where they are. You would think, like if you take a dog and put it into their house, the dog immediately knows where they are. It takes the snake a little bit of time. It takes them looking around and tongue flicking a little bit to figure out where they're at. So if you give them that time to do the advance and retreat behavior, chances are they're going to figure out that they're home. It's, maybe it takes 5 seconds or something. And then they'll crawl into their home. That's not to say that some snakes wouldn't rather sometimes explore the room than be back in their home. But in most cases, just give them a minute. Just be patient with them. This is kind of the theme with this whole video, is patience with them. Let them slowly figure everything out, right? You see that that's my arm, not food? Okay. Just relax, crazy. So, picking up your snake and holding them for 10, 15 minutes also can be in the rotation. But I think that a lot of these other things are just as, if not more important. What, still? Don't bite me. Don't do it, crazy girl. No way. I can see those eyes. You're done trying to figure out if I'm food? By the way, give your snake some days off. They don't need new challenges every single day. So certainly don't need to be held every single day. But it's good to just let them chill in their enclosures for plenty of days. Obviously if they're shedding or digesting food. But also, there are plenty of days that you can work with them, but you don't have to work with them every single day. Give them a few days to rest, relax, and process. Why are you so crazy today? See? That's not food, is it? That's a hook. Let's get you back up here. There you go. And once your snake is confident and trusting of you, you can, even though it's not really true, you can say, my snake likes me, if you want. I guess whenever a little kid comes over and holds a snake, I always say, oh, I think she likes you, which is a lie. So I guess I do lie to children. Public confession. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.